Hello there. Today we are looking at lesson 11.6, which is solving quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula sometimes can be thought of as kind of like a get out of jail card for doing this topic. Any equation that you have, you can solve it perfectly easy using the quadratic formula. There will never be an exception to that. The quadratic formula just basically gives you the answer for solving a quadratic equation. It's very useful, and it is what you see kind of in the middle of the page. So let me just read through the page real quick. We're learning about solving quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula. So completing the square, a technique we know as completing the square of the quadratic equation, produces a formula that allows you to find the solutions of any quadratic equation. Okay, so as a reminder, when we say the quadratic equation, we're talking about ax squared plus bx plus c. Okay, and allows us to find the solution of any quadratic equation. So basically, if we have an equation in this form and we set it equal to 0, and I want to say I'm going to go through a series of like algebra, arithmetic steps, various kind of steps, which will include something called completing the square. Then you will, in the end, rearrange this equation into the form you see below. That is called the quadratic formula, which is x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. I will include a video at the end of this lesson that I would like you to watch that will be covering how you actually get from the quadratic equation to the quadratic formula. There are a number of steps. It probably takes, a few minutes, 3 or 4 minutes to actually just go through the steps to get there. And it's rather complicated the first time you see it. Now, you will not be expected to be able to move from one to the other. That's a little bit beyond my expectation for what you should be getting from this lesson. However, I think it always helps to see where these equations come from so that they feel more comfortable to use, and it's not just that I'm giving you some big crazy formula like the quadratic formula that I just asked you to take off and run with without really knowing where it comes from. So once again, at the end of this lesson, you can see a video that will go through those steps. Just want to highlight today's goals real quick. We want to be able to solve quadratic equations by using the quadratic formula, and we want to use something called the discriminant, which is today's vocabulary word. Want to use the discriminant to determine the number of solutions you're going to get, how many solutions you're going to get to the quadratic equation. As a little preview here, the discriminant is this part. So what we're saying is that part right there, b squared minus 4ac, that part will tell you something about the equation. If you just focus on that part by itself, it'll tell you how many solutions there are going to be. You might get 2 solutions, 1 solution, you might get no solutions. You're going to discriminate between those options by looking at what's called the discriminant of the quadratic formula. All right, so let's get to it.